This is Set Him Free, Chapter 21. Roman knocked upon the tall white doors of his mother's study. Once, twice, thrice. The pattern had been so familiar to him all his life, yet now the motion felt heavy and forced. He waited, counting the seconds it took for his mother to answer the door. He had just finished the 7th second before Elena called from the other side. Roman entered. There were sentries guarding the door as he walked in. That was odd. They had never done that before Roman had been gone. He tried his best to ignore the change. He approached his mother with quiet footsteps. She was seated in a plush, olive-colored armchair, and her eyes followed his path as Roman took a seat adjacent to her. Never before had Roman been afraid of his mother. Intimidated, sure, but as he watched her sip from a gilded teacup with her gaze fixed on his every movement, Elena seemed almost nightmarish. The queen took her time finishing her drink, only setting the porcelain cup down on a saucer when Roman began to fidget. A smile crept onto her face, and she spoke soft but sharply. "It is good to see you again, dear. I assume everything's all right?" Roman almost said yes, having been so used to agreeing to her words. He had to pause for a moment, truly taking the time to remember what he had come there for. "Actually, Mother," the prince began, "I need to speak with you about something." "Oh?" She raised a brow, again reaching for her teacup. "And what would that be?" "It's about Virgil Rain, the thief." The queen's eyes narrowed. "Yes, I am quite aware of that criminal and his misdeeds." "That's the thing, Mother. He's not—" "Roman, can I ask you to do something for me?" Roman blinked. Yes, but I still have to—" "I know, dear. You can tell me all about it in a second. Though, first, could you fetch Elric for me? He's standing right over there by the doors." She gestured to the far entrance of the room. "But—" "Yes, Mother," Roman muttered, standing from his chair. The distance between where they sat and Elric's post was only a few feet away, leaving Roman wary as to why his mother had interrupted his words for such a reason. Elric scowled at him as he approached, his back straightening and his fist closing tighter around his weapon. The same weapon he had almost drawn on Virgil. Roman tried his best to sound deferential as he addressed the soldier. "Her Highness requested to see you." "So she's sending the little prince to do her chores now?" Elric jeered with a smirk. Roman clenched his jaw. Any response, no matter how well-deserved, would only worsen things. The prince sighed, opting to look at the wall instead of Elric's smug appearance. "She wanted to speak with you immediately, Elric." "And I am already on my way over." He shoved past Roman, smirking over his shoulder. "Why don't you keep up, Princey?" The nickname sounded wrong coming from his voice. It was sharp, striking harshly from his tongue. When Virgil uttered the same name, it flowed cool and evenly, nothing like the mocking tone that accompanied that of the queen's sentry. He followed behind Elric, stopping just before he reached his own chair. From her pocket, Elena withdrew an object and handed it to the soldier. She whispered something into his ear that Roman could not distinguish, then sat back in her chair as Elric made his exit. There was a pointed look to the Queen Elena's eyes as the door shut with Elric's leave. Roman took the message and sat. Elena smoothed out her crimson skirts, eventually folding her hands neatly in her lap and flashing the prince a sweet smile. "Now, Roman, what was it you wanted to talk to me about?" "Well, putting it the best way possible, we have the wrong criminal. Virgil is innocent." Roman braced himself for the disapproving stare or the irritated sigh, though the queen did none of those things. She laughed. red face and all. Somehow, that was more disconcerting. Oh, Roman, you always know how to make me laugh. She covered her mouth in an attempt to stifle her laughter, her face shining a brilliant shade of red as she reached composure. Still, please choose a less sensitive subject for your joke next time. You worried me for a moment. I'm serious, Mother. No, that cannot be true. You simply must be mistaken, dear. Really, Mother, I'm speaking the truth. That cannot be. I know what I'm talking about, Roman insisted. I am not mistaken or ignorant or naive, so I would appreciate it if you stopped treating me as such when you weren't even there when they took me. The queen stilled, her lips pinched tight into a frown. The pure sharpness of her gaze made Roman want to look away, though he stood his ground. He wasn't going to be pushed around anymore. Not by Elric and the guards, not by Janice, and certainly not by his mother. That didn't stop her next words from appearing any less painful. With fingers clenched so tight, Roman swore her nails had to be piercing her skin. Elena spoke. Fine. You wish to tell me your story? Spin your tale. I am so sorry that you just had to lash out. Roman finally let his gaze slip to the floor. It's all right. I just wanted to ask if you would at least allow Virgil to have a trial. I can prove he's innocent, and I even know the real culprit if it would ease your worry. Is that so? Yes, he was the leader of everything. Janice was his name. Elena's eyes narrowed, almost as if in recognition. She said nothing more on the subject, and slowly stood from her chair. Well then, I will take note of your suggestions. And you'll give Virgil a trial, right? Please, Mother, I promise that he is not the one responsible. Yes, no need to fret, Roman. Elena placed a hand on her son's shoulder, giving it a reassuring squeeze. There was a smile on her face that didn't quite meet her eyes, though she had said she would give Virgil a chance. His mother hadn't given up on her word before. Now, why don't you go get some rest? The day must have been quite the spectacle for you. Only a little. I'm still doing okay. Well, of course you are, but every prince needs his beauty sleep. Elena guided Roman towards the door, nodding to the sentries with their exit. Come now. You must go to your room. The prince obliged, walking beside the queen until they reached the spiral staircase that led to his sleeping quarters. With each step he took upwards, all Roman could think about was the thief. Virgil would be safe. He would be granted a trial, and of course then Roman could convince the others to free him. They would have to believe him. He had been the one who had been kidnapped, after all. Besides, Logan always served as the final decider, and the advisor would never go against Roman's requests if he offered enough reasoning. Soon, they had reached his white and gold door, and the prince happily turned the handle. He stepped inside with thoughts of talking to Virgil. Not hushed conversations in the darkness, but soft discussions by beds of flowers in the shining sun. Roman was practically floating with each footstep. His mother had listened to him. She had actually granted his request. The door slamming shut jarred him from his thoughts. Roman whipped around at the sound, rushing back to grasp at the handle. It was locked. Mother? He called, pulling at the iron knob. What are you doing? I can't have you around for what comes next. You are too filled with emotion. Roman's stomach dropped. What? We had a deal, Mother. You promised you would. I promised nothing of the sort. The queen hissed through the door. This is for your own good, Roman. That boy has clouded your head with cruel fantasies. No, you've got it wrong. Just listen to me. You don't know what you're saying. You're too weak to understand these things. Roman couldn't believe what he was hearing. He pounded on the door, desperately twisting the handle. "No, wait. Don't hurt him. He must suffer for his crimes, and if you can't accept that, then I will." The sound of footsteps grew distant. He was running out of time. Mother, wait. We had a deal." Roman beat his fists against the door. "Don't do this. You don't understand." The door didn't so much as budge, held tight by the iron lock. It was like the cottage all over again. "Logan, Patton, anyone! Don't let her do this!" He continued to plead, striking the door until his hands ached. It ceased to open. Elena heard her son's calls and ignored them as she descended the stairs. Her blood-red skirts flowed behind her with each step, a warning to what she could become. Soon. Elric couldn't be too far from retrieving what she needed. Her path was interrupted by the presence of Roman's friends. Logan, the taller one, lifted a perplexed eyebrow while the messenger, Patton, just appeared worried. "Is everything all right, Your Majesty? We thought we heard the prince calling for us." Logan spoke up. "Yes, there is no need for concern. Return to your activities." A shout rang up from upstairs. "That was Roman," Patton whispered, his eyes darting back and forth behind his rounded spectacles. "Logan, we've got to do something." "You will do nothing. That is an order." "But, Your Highness, that is an order." The Queen snapped, and the advisor flinched. Patton frowned. "You can't just tell us to ignore our friend when he needs help. I'm sorry, Miss Elena, but I'm going up there." He moved for the spiral staircase, tugging Logan behind him. They were not getting into that room. "Guards," Elena barked, nodding to the sentries at the doors. "Remove these two from this area. I don't want to see them anywhere near the prince's quarters." Patton's eyes widened at the order, and he quickened his and the advisor's pace. They made it to the base of the staircase before the guards took hold. So close, yet so far. Patton thrashed in their grip as the guards carried out their order, while Logan muttered a string of curses. Both were glowering at the Queen from behind, though she didn't care. There were bigger matters to attend to. "I hope you both see that interference will get you nowhere." She clasped her hands, returning their bitter glares. "What you're doing is wrong," Patton spat, again struggling in the guard's grip. "You can't just lock up your own son." "Don't you dare utter that word," Elena hissed, her eyes blazing. "I am protecting him from his own ignorance, something you could never come to understand." "That is not protection. That is stifling your own people so that you may get what you want," Logan cut in, earning a nod of agreement from the messenger. "If that is true, then you still cannot stop me." Elena waved a hand to the guards. "Take them to their rooms and lock their doors. They will not be released until I order such." She spun on her heel just as the two were directed to their own rooms. If the guards were in their right mind, they would know to guard both doors closely. If they found any way out, Logan and Patton would go to aid Roman the first chance they got. Elena was sure she could be finished before that happened. Elric should have finished his task by now, meaning it was only a matter of time. She rounded a corner, striding down the wide halls until she had reached a tight corridor. A large iron door greeted her, and as she opened it, lines of cells filled her vision. Her target lay at the end of that hall, anxious, resentful, and most of all, helpless. This has been Set Him Free, Chapter 21. Thank you so much for listening, and I will see you next time for Chapter 22.